Imagine if every life you've ever lived was just a single frame in an infinite movie, a cosmic journey where your soul is the eternal protagonist. What if the person you are right now is just one chapter in a story that has been unfolding for thousands of years? Reincarnation refers to the repeated process of the soul, or the immaterial part of a person, being embodied in different physical forms. A similar term often used is metempsychosis, which means the passage of the soul, as an immortal essence, from a deceased body into another living body. Another term you might hear is transmigration of souls, which describes the soul moving from one body to another. However, it's important to note that transmigration is sometimes associated with older beliefs from certain cultures, which held that human souls could reincarnate into animals as punishment for sins committed in life. This idea, however, is not connected to the philosophy of reincarnation or metempsychosis, as it originates from entirely different traditions and does not align with their teachings. Reincarnation has been a belief shared by many nations and races throughout history, but India is often considered the true birthplace of this idea. The teaching of reincarnation found the perfect spiritual and intellectual environment in India, and its origins there are so ancient that they're lost in the mists of time. Even so, the concept continues to thrive, like a tree still blooming and bearing fruit after thousands of years. The Hindus take pride in this legacy, pointing out that while the ancestors of the modern Western world were still living in caves during the Stone Age, and even before the ancient Jewish people began building the foundations of their religion, which later gave rise to Christianity, the Hindu sages and philosophers had already developed complex spiritual systems. These systems firmly embraced reincarnation and related teachings, which were widely accepted as truth by the Aryan race in India. For over 4,000 years, this belief has remained central to Hindu philosophy. Now, as the modern Western world grapples with spiritual crises, many are turning to the ancient wisdom of the Vedas and Upanishads for answers. In the 20th century, thoughtful individuals see these teachings as a remedy for the materialism that has deeply influenced Western thought, offering a path to greater spiritual understanding. The concept of reincarnation has appeared in nearly all philosophies and religions throughout history, at least at some point. However, it is in India that this belief has reached its fullest expression, both in ancient times and today. From the earliest days of Indian civilization, reincarnation in its various forms has been a central belief. Even now, it is embraced by nearly all Hindus, regardless of the many divisions and subgroups within their culture, with the exception of the Hindu Muslims. For the vast population of India, reincarnation is an unquestionable truth. It is seen as the most logical explanation for the past, present, and future of the soul. Unlike many in the West who view themselves as bodies that have a soul, Hindus consider themselves souls temporarily residing in a body. To them, this life is just one step in a much larger journey, a single rung on the eternal ladder of existence. Eternity, in their view, isn't something far away or reserved for an afterlife. It is happening here and now. This present life is merely one brief moment within the endless flow of eternal existence. In ancient times, the Hindu religion was much simpler than it is today, without the countless creeds, rituals, sects, and schools of thought that now exist. Originally, it was rooted in what might be described as nature worship, though this term doesn't fully capture the depth of their beliefs. It was far more profound than what the Western mind typically imagines under that label. For the ancient Hindus, nature wasn't just a collection of physical elements, it was the spirit of nature, or a single universal life force from which all things emerge. While all forms of existence were seen as expressions of this one life, the soul was considered a distinct entity, temporarily separated from the divine source. This soul was believed to journey through many reincarnations, gradually evolving and refining itself until it could reunite with the divine life, becoming one with the source once more. From this early belief system, the diverse religious philosophies of modern India eventually developed. Despite their differences, all these philosophies retain the core belief in reincarnation and the ultimate return to unity with the One. Brahmanism was the first major religious system to arise, evolving from simplicity into a complex structure dominated by a powerful priesthood. Over time, rituals, ceremonies, and intricate theological ideas were added to the original, straightforward philosophy. Then came Buddhism, which sought to return to a simpler understanding of spiritual truths, though it too eventually developed its own priesthood and organized religious practices. Throughout all these changes, the belief in reincarnation remained constant, forming the central thread of Hindu thought. It is the unifying principle that connects all Hindu philosophies, regardless of their differences. Hindu scriptures are rich with references to reincarnation. One of the oldest texts, the Laws of Manu, mentions it frequently. The Upanishads and the Vedas are filled with teachings about the soul's journey, and the Bhagavad Gita offers profound insights on the subject. In a famous passage, Krishna tells Arjuna, "Know this, O Prince of Pandu. There was never a time when I, you, or these rulers of men did not exist, nor will there ever come a time when any of us will cease to exist." The soul, much like a traveler passing through different stages of life, infancy, youth, adulthood, and old age, continues its journey beyond this material body. When the time comes, it moves on to inhabit another body, experiencing new incarnations. These physical forms are merely temporary coverings, finite and fleeting. They are not the true essence of who we are. Bodies perish as all things bound by time eventually do, but the soul, the real self, remains eternal and untouched. To think, "I kill" or "I am killed" is to misunderstand the truth. In reality, no one truly slays, and no one is truly slain. The soul cannot be harmed or destroyed. The spirit of man is unborn, undying, timeless, and everlasting. It has always existed and will continue to exist beyond the destruction of any physical form. Imagine a man discarding old, worn-out clothes to replace them with fresh, vibrant ones. In the same way, the soul leaves behind its old mortal body and takes on a new one, ready for another chapter of existence. This process of renewal is the natural cycle of life and death. Krishna explains this to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, saying, "I have been through countless births and rebirths, O Prince, and so have you. The difference is, I am aware of all my past lives, while you have forgotten yours." Similarly, the Mahabharata echoes this sentiment. Just as a man changes old garments for new ones, the soul leaves behind a worn-out body and takes on a fresh one. It avoids the paths of destruction, strives for salvation, and moves ever closer to heaven. The Upanishad, one of the foundational texts of Hindu philosophy, provides a vivid analogy to illustrate reincarnation. As the caterpillar, reaching the end of a straw, moves to a new resting place, so does the soul, upon leaving its current body, transition to another form. Similarly, just as a goldsmith reshapes gold into a new ornament, the soul departs its old body to fashion a new and auspicious abode for itself. The cycle of reincarnation serves as a means for the soul to evolve through various forms and experiences, gradually unfolding its true essence. Over eons, this journey culminates in a return to divine unity, often described as nirvana or parinirvana, a state of eternal bliss and liberation. When it comes to understanding the soul, all the different schools of Hindu thought generally agree that humans are made up of several layers, or bodies, from the physical to the spiritual. As the soul grows and evolves, it sheds these layers one by one until it reaches a state of perfection. There are some disagreements among the schools about the exact terms and order of these layers, but here's a simple breakdown of how they are usually seen, moving from the most basic to the highest. The physical body, rupa, the actual body we can see and touch. Vital force, prana-jiva, the life energy that keeps us alive. The astral body, linga sharira, a kind of energy body or double of the physical body. The animal soul, kama-rupa, the part of us that connects to basic desires and instincts. The human soul, manas, the part of us that is responsible for thoughts and emotions. The spiritual soul, buddhi, the part that connects to higher wisdom and understanding. The divine spirit, atma, the highest, purest part of the self, which is one with the universe. Hindus have always been interested in finding out what lies behind the world of forms and change. They believe that everything in the world comes from one main source, a universal energy or life force that brings everything into existence. This idea led them to wonder how the one divine force could create all the different things we see in the world. For Hindus, the big question has always been about the soul's connection to the one divine being, and what happens to the soul in this life and the next. This topic has been important for over 4,000 years. In Hinduism, material things are seen as less important than the discovery of the ultimate truth. that when you understand the nature of the soul, everything else falls into place. Despite all the different religions and philosophies in Hinduism, the main idea of reincarnation is always present. It's accepted in every form of Hindu thought and never questioned. While there are many schools of thought, they can be grouped into a few main categories. The school of Hindu philosophy is the teaching of Kapila, known as the Sankhya system. This view disagrees with the atomic theory of the Vaisheshika school and says that atoms are not eternal. Instead, they can dissolve back into a basic substance called Prakriti, which is a universal, eternal energy, similar to the idea of an universal ether in Western science. Kapila believed that everything in the universe came from this eternal energy, Prakriti, and that all material forms are just different expressions of it. But the Sankhya system is not purely materialistic. Alongside Prakriti, it also talks about Purusha, which is the principle of the soul or spirit. Each individual soul is considered a part of Purusha, but Purusha itself is seen as a unity made up of individual units, not one single, undivided being. Purusha, or the soul, is eternal and immortal, while Prakriti lacks a mind. However, it has the power to create forms and matter through its energy and laws. This leads to what Hindus call Maya, or the illusion of the material world. Maya is seen as not real because the forms and appearances constantly change and are not permanent. According to this view, Prakriti, through the allure of Maya, draws individual souls into the cycle of material existence, making them forget their true nature. However, the soul always retains a spark of spiritual light and begins to realize that it has made a mistake. This realization sparks a desire to break free from Prakriti and Maya, but this escape is gradual and involves a long process of purification, similar to a fly cleaning itself from something sticky. This journey of freedom is known as spiritual evolution or unfoldment, achieved through reincarnation. It's not so much about growing as it is about shedding layers and revealing the true self, step by step. Another influential school is the philosophy of Patanjali, known as yoga philosophy. This differs from Western yoga, which is more mixed and eclectic. Patanjali's yoga philosophy shares some similarities with the Sankhya system, especially the idea that Prakriti is the source of the universe and that individual souls, Purushas, are eternal and trapped in Maya. However, Patanjali's school goes further. It adds the concept of a supreme Purusha, a higher spirit or God that is formless, infinite, eternal, and beyond human qualities. This idea sets Patanjali apart from Kapila's Sankhya, aligning him more closely with the Vaisheshika school, which also emphasizes the existence of a divine, all-encompassing being. The three philosophers generally agree on a concept called the mind principle. They see it as something below the soul or spirit, almost like a mind stuff that has a semi-material quality. Kapila and Patanjali even go as far as saying it's just another form of Prakriti, universal energy, instead of being something completely separate. But they all believe that the Purusha, spirit, is the true essence of who we are, our real self, and the actual source of consciousness and intelligence, not the mind. Another major school of Hindu philosophy is the Vedanta. Many people consider it the most advanced of all the Hindu systems. It's been gaining a lot of followers among educated Hindus and also among Western thinkers who are into philosophy. Vedanta followers believe that this philosophy has reached the highest level of human thought and analysis. Some even say it has the most profound ideas of any world philosophy. Whether or not that's true, it's clear that Vedanta explores some of the most subtle and refined concepts out there. While it might not always connect emotionally like some other systems, it appeals strongly to people who prioritize intellectual understanding over emotional experience. Vedanta teaches that the ultimate truth of the universe, the one source of everything, is called the Absolute. It's eternal, infinite, and beyond any qualities we can describe. This Absolute is unique. There's nothing else like it. In Sanskrit, it's called Brahman, and it's been referred to by many names like the Unknowable, the Father, or the Oversoul. Essentially, it represents the deepest reality that people have always tried to express. According to Vedanta, this Brahman is the essence of three things: Sat, absolute existence; Chit, absolute intelligence; Ananda, absolute bliss. Now, unlike the Sankhya philosophy, which says there are countless eternal souls, Vedanta teaches that individual souls are like reflections or images of Brahman. They exist only because Brahman exists. So the spirit inside each person, the soul of their soul, is actually divine. Vedanta also recognizes a kind of cosmic manager called Ishwara, or the Lord of the Universe. Ishwara is seen as a manifestation of Brahman and oversees the evolution of the universe from Prakriti. You could think of Ishwara as a great soul that plays a similar role to the demiurge in ancient Greek and Gnostic philosophies. The Vedantists recognize the relative existence of Prakriti, or universal energy, but argue that it lacks eternal or independent reality. Instead, it aligns with Maya, the illusory force of creation attributed to Brahman, the Absolute. Maya gives rise to time, space, causation, and the phenomenal universe with all its forms and appearances. Despite its transient nature, Maya shapes the visible world, existing only as a manifestation of the Absolute's creative energy. The Vedantic path emphasizes the soul's evolution, where it sheds layers of materiality and illusion, Maya, through multiple rebirths. This progressive spiritual journey enables the soul to reflect its divine essence more clearly, advancing toward union with Brahman, achieving a state described as being one with the Father. Buddhism, another cornerstone of Indian philosophy, is deeply nuanced, with a variety of sects and schools, notably the northern and southern traditions. Its foundation lies in the concept of an unknowable reality that underpins all phenomena. Buddha refrained from speculative discussions about this reality, treating it as beyond comprehension, more accurately a no-thing rather than a thing. This perspective emphasizes the ineffable nature of existence, which transcends thought, imagination, and language. In Buddhism, the universe is regarded as a world of woe, born of Maya, illusion, and avidya, ignorance. The entanglement with illusion leads to the cycle of sorrow and pain, perpetuated by karma and desire. The soul reincarnates repeatedly due to its attachments, desires, and ignorance, prolonging its entrapment within the cycle of existence. The ultimate goal in Buddhism is to achieve nirvana, a state where all material and illusory attachments are extinguished. This state is not annihilation in the Western sense, but a return to a no-thingness, a profound reconnection with the real, transcending personal existence. Nirvana marks freedom from karma and the cycle of rebirth, allowing the soul to dissolve into the eternal reality. When looking at Indian philosophy, we don't feel the need to dive into the countless forms of religion or the various sects within Hinduism. In India, religion is a huge part of life, and there seems to be a spiritual path for every single person in the country's massive population. Hinduism covers a vast range, from the simplest and most superstitious practices to the most sophisticated and beautiful philosophical ideas. For many people, it's hard to wrap their heads around the idea of an abstract, universal force like Brahman in Hindu philosophy. So, over time, this concept has been shaped into something more relatable, an anthropomorphic deity with human-like qualities to make it easier for people to connect. Just like anywhere else, priests and religious leaders in India often adapt to what people want, which has led to certain rituals and worship styles that might feel strange or even shocking to outsiders, especially from the West. Back to India. Among the many forms of Hindu religion, you'll find that the more philosophical ideas often resonate with the educated. There's a lot of freedom in how people interpret and practice their faith, with individuals often picking and choosing beliefs that speak to them. However, two core ideas remain constant across the board: reincarnation and karma. These concepts are so deeply rooted in the Hindu worldview that they're taken as absolute truths, like gravity or the fact that 1 + 1 = 2. Hindus believe, without needing proof, that the soul is eternal and survives beyond the death of the body. To them, the awareness of existing in the present, this feeling of I am, is proof enough that the soul existed before and will continue to exist in the future. It's as if they instinctively know that life is a continuous journey. Reincarnation and karma go hand in hand in Hindu philosophy. Reincarnation is the belief that the soul is reborn into new lives, while karma is the idea that the actions in one life influence the conditions of the next. These principles aren't just theories, they're moral convictions. For Hindus, these ideas are as real as the air they breathe. No matter how different the schools of thought or spiritual practices may be, these two beliefs, reincarnation and karma, are always present. They're as inseparable from Hindu philosophy as sunlight is from the sun. In short, you can't truly understand Hinduism without recognizing the importance of these core concepts. To the Hindu, the only escape from the doctrine of reincarnation seems to be along the road of the materialism of the West. From the above statement, we may accept the Hindu Mohammedans and the native Hindu Christians partially, although careful observers say that even these do not escape entirely the current belief of their country and secretly entertain a mental reservation in their heterodox creeds. So, you see, we are justified in considering India as the motherland of reincarnation at the present time. To the Hindu mindset, it seems the only way to sidestep the idea of reincarnation is by embracing the materialism often associated with the West. Even so, this isn't as clear-cut as it sounds. For example, while Hindu Muslims and native Hindu Christians might outwardly reject the concept, observers often note that even they don't fully escape its influence. It's not uncommon for them to quietly hold on to a just-in-case belief in reincarnation, despite officially adhering to different creeds. Because of this deeply ingrained cultural and spiritual connection, it's fair to say that India remains the heartland of reincarnation beliefs today, a place where this philosophy continues to thrive and shape the collective worldview.